Hello, Simon Zucchi here again, and I'd like to teach you today on how you can build your portfolio using other people's money. Now, how on earth can you do that? Well, there are lots of different ways. You might have friends and family who've got money in the bank and it's only no interest at all, and you could do a joint venture with them where you're using some of their funds. Maybe you've got a business and you've got retained profit that's not really doing much in the company. You can borrow that from the business to invest in property. Or the easiest way for most people is to use equity in some of your property. Now you might be thinking, hang on a minute, I thought you said we can use other people's money, Simon. Well, using equity in property is other people's money. What you're going to do is borrow money from someone else secured against your own property. Whether that's your own home or another investment property you've got. You see, if there's equity in the property, you can borrow the money. Now you might be thinking, well, surely it's my money I'm using. No, it's not. If it was your money, you wouldn't have to pay interest and you wouldn't necessarily have to pay it back, would you? So you're actually using someone else's money secured against your own home. Now, this sometimes feels a little bit alien to most people because as homeowners, we're taught that we need to pay down our home mortgage as quickly as we possibly can. And in fact, if you're only ever going to have one house, paying your own mortgage back quickly is the best thing you can do. But smart people, investors, what we do is we realise using equity in other property is a great way to build a portfolio. So let me give you a quick example of how that might work. So let's say you've got a property that's worth £200,000. And because you've been trying to pay off your mortgage for many, many years, your mortgage right now may only be £50,000. Now these numbers may not work for you, I don't know what your figures are, but let's just work with this example, then you can apply it to your personal situation. As I said, many people I meet, they say, I've got no money to invest, but they've got loads of equity in their property. It's a great place to start. If you don't have equity, or you've used all of it up, working with other people, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, is a good way to do it. But let's just work with this example for the moment. So let's say you had a property worth $200,000 in your own home and your mortgage is $50,000. What you could do is increase the borrowing on your own home. Now this depends on your credit rating and your personal income, but in this case, let's assume you could borrow an extra £100,000. That means your total borrowing on a home would be $150,000. Okay? Now you might think that's a bit scary, your interest payments are going to go up each month, but if you do this correctly, you can get other people to pay for the cost of the borrowing. Here's how it works. What we're going to do is we're going to take this 100,000, okay, and we're going to use that as deposits for you to buy some investment properties. Now you could go and buy one property for 100,000, rent it out, and you get the rental income coming in. Great. The problem with that is you're not using leverage, you're not using gearing, so using other people's money is the secret here. So what you would do, you take the 100,000 and you break it into 4 chunks of 25,000 like this. And then each of these chunks of 25,000 can be used as a deposit to buy an investment property. So the way this works is you'd buy an investment property for 100,000, you'd get a 75,000 buy-to-let mortgage, and you'd put a 25,000 deposit in. So in this basis, you'd be able to buy 4 of these properties, which would give you £400,000 of property. You'd have 4 buy-to-let mortgages, which would be £300,000 of mortgages, and obviously you've used your 4 chunks of 25,000. Now obviously you need to educate yourself to work out what are good investment properties to buy in the first place. So you want to make sure each investment property you buy, not only does the rental income from that cover all of the costs of this, but it also makes you some profit every single month that you can use to cover the cost of your home borrowing. So if you do this correctly, it needn't cost you any money at all. Now, why do this? Sounds like quite a lot of effort. Well, there's a very good reason. As we know in the UK, property prices on average, historically over the last 60 years, have doubled every 7 to 9 years. That's an average. It doesn't mean it happens every 7 to 9 years. And I think it's going to take maybe 10, 12 years for price to double. But let's look at what will happen. So you've got these 4 properties worth 400,000, 100,000 each now. Let's say in 10 years' time, what's going to happen to property prices? Well, they might have doubled in value, which means that your properties are suddenly worth £800,000, £200,000 each. Now your borrowing was only £300,000, and what you could do is increase the borrowing on these properties. If you were to increase the borrowing by, let's say, £150,000, it means your borrowing would be a total of 450 based on the value of 800,000. So just over 50% borrowing on your investment properties. You should still have a good healthy cash flow from those because rents will have gone up over time as well. What this means is you've got £150,000 released from your buy-to-let property, which you can use to pay off your home mortgage completely. So what this means is, by using some of the money in your own home, and in this case buying just 4 investment properties, educating yourself to buy the right kind of property, as time goes on, the values go up, the rents go up, you increase the borrowing on the investment properties to release 150 in this case to pay off your home completely. What that means is your own home will be paid off. By the way, your own home by then will probably worth something like 400,000. That will be completely paid off. And you have 4 investment properties worth 800,000 with £350,000 of equity. So not only will you have paid your own home off completely and own that outright, which will be good, you've got £350,000 of equity. Now, in another 10 years, your £800,000 property will probably go up to 1.6 million. So you'll have £1 million worth of equity, which you've got pretty much for nothing. How long would it take you to save £1 million from your income? Well, it's not going to happen for most people. But in this case, in just 4 properties, that's exactly what you've done with a bit of knowledge and a bit of time. So I encourage you to look at the assets you have to see how could you build up your portfolio and get your money working for you instead of you having to work for money. My name's Simon Zicci. I do hope you've enjoyed this educational video.